Good morning, Jim.
Morning, Jay.
All right, tough loss for the Twins last night. 5-4 in 10 innings. They fall to the Cleveland Guardians. Back and forth game. Twins got 2 runs in the 10th. Cleveland got 3 in the bottom of the 10th inning against Ronnie Henriquez. Jim, tell me about what happened here in this one.
Well, it was a heck of a game. Correa drives in 4 runs, gets the big two RBI single to give the Twins a lead going into the bottom of the 10th. And basically, so Rocco had already used Varland and Duran, and Sands and Jax were not available because they'd thrown so many pitches the last 3 days. So he went with Ronnie Henriquez instead of somebody like Michael Tonkin or Irvin. And Henriquez has had a good season. He's been up and down a lot, but he's had a good season. They like his stuff. And this is really the first time he's been in that pressurized situation, and he just didn't handle it well. Gives up a single right away. There's nothing wrong with the first single. The guy just hit it hard and found a hole. But then he walked somebody, and that walk really put them in a position where things were going to go south. Of course, when you start an inning, you have to face at least 3 batters, so he had to let him face another one. He gives up another hit, and soon the game's over. Just bad timing, bad time to have to need an extra inning game. And I know a lot of people are angry because people always get angry when a reliever gives anything up, but I don't know who else. I don't know what better option Rocco actually had. And the people who think that he should have used Jack's 4th straight day are asking for their best pitcher to be injured. It was as important a game as it felt. It was not an elimination game. And you just can't burn out. You can't risk injury with your best pitcher in that situation.
And then they did turn to Tonkin, who gave up a hit. It's not clear whether or not he would have done any better if he would have started that inning. Second guessing is always something that happens. And you're right. They used Duran already. They used Varland already. So, yeah, depth in the bullpen, pretty important this time of year.
It is. And I still remember a conversation I had with a Twins official this spring because I was looking at the potential bullpen and saying, God, you guys might be 10 deep. This might be a fantastic bullpen. And he said, you never have enough relievers. And that turned out to be so true. Stewart's injury, for all the talk about and the accurate talk about Correa and Buxton and Royce Lewis's injuries, if Brock Stewart had been healthy all year, which is a long shot, man, they probably would have won another 3 to 5 games. He's such a force out of the bullpen. Topa was supposed to be one of their 4 or 5 best relievers. He hasn't pitched an inning for him this year. And those two things, in addition with overusage in a very tight race, just left Rocco without many good options. And here's the other thing. Henriquez has pitched well for them. And eventually he was going to end up in a high leverage situation. It didn't go well. I wouldn't give up on the guy. I think he's got talent. I think he's a good middle reliever. But boy, he wasn't ready for that last night.
All right, so they got Cleveland again today. It's the final game of the series, and things have really tightened up. The Twins, because the Tigers just keep winning, so they're only a half game behind the Twins for the last wild card spot. Kansas City keeps losing to Detroit, so they're just a game and a half up on the Twins. So it looks like it's 3 teams fighting for 2 spots.
Yes, and when I say anything can happen down the stretch in baseball, I mean it. I still remember covering a couple of Twins teams that looked like they were dead in the water a week or 2 from the finish line, and they end up, either making the playoffs or winning the division. Obviously, they're not going to win the division this year, but I mean, all the same things are on the table. They can still win a wild card spot. They can still enter the playoffs with a chance to beat somebody. They just got to survive this stretch. They just got to, they whatever it takes. And you don't know if Detroit's going to keep winning. Detroit has overachieved greatly. One of the funny things, too, about the constant complaints the Twins do enough the trading deadline, Tigers traded away pitching and added nobody, and they've been one of the best teams since the trade deadline. You never know how things are going to be impacted. The Tigers are playing well without having acquired anybody.
And they're going to play at Baltimore this weekend. The Twins play at Boston. Boston is a team that's not been playing as well, and Baltimore is the best team in the American League. So, I mean,
yep.
it does look like things are in their favor. Of course, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to predict any of this. I just, but they still have every opportunity to get into the playoffs. And, of course, you'd rather win the division, but getting to the playoffs is the goal.
All right, Jim, the Lynx are going to play their final regular season game tonight against the LA Sparks. They can't affect anything by playing tonight, right? I mean, so is it possible that they're going to rest some of their players?
They definitely are resting Collier and McBride. They might rest some others. And the Sparks are beat up, so it's probably not going to be much of a game, frankly. Safe
to say that they'll announce the start time of Sunday's game tomorrow?
I would think so. I wish they'd do it as soon as possible. The WNBA, I mean, it's a great league. It's been a great league. I don't always think that I always think the commissioner's office handles things very well, though. I agree with many of their complaints that they don't get enough attention, but they also find a way to not grab that attention when they have a chance. I mean, but get those times out there. Let people plan out the day.
Jim, some other things going on. The Vikings are going to play on Sunday against the Houston Texans. Do we know any more about the possibility of Jordan Addison returning?
Doesn't look good for Addison. Very long injury report for both teams. And boy, I mean, there are like 10 names on each team's list. Addison, O'Neal, and Turner didn't practice. I think Addison and Turner are probably the most likely to miss. And there are a bunch of other people on the list too. And I think Addison's the only one sure to miss. I would guess they're going to be really careful with Turner, a young guy with a knee problem. The Texans have a very long list. They had about 8 players not practice yesterday, including Nico Collins, who is a load, and Joe Mixon, who's a load. The defensive assignments will be much easier if Collins and Mixon aren't available.
Well, and Joe Mixon, he was a victim of one of those drop tackle or something like that they talked about, and he seems like he's very unlikely to play.
I would think so. They're trying to get that hip drop tackle out of the game. They should. It's a horrible play. It really risks injury, knee, ankle, hip area for the player being tackled. It's a dirty play, and they've done such a good job of getting this. Remember, Jay, when football fans are saying you can't take the head first hit out of football. It's part of the game. You can't defenders can't react that quickly. When's the last time you actually saw somebody leave with the crown of the helmet? They got it out of the game. It happens accidentally once in a while now, but they got it out of the game. Now they can get this out of the game if they penalize it enough.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's amazing what defensive players, even in spur of the moment, can change how they hit people. How they can change how I don't think anyone was ever taught to go and lead with the head. At least I'd never. When I played junior high school football, you were never taught to do that. So
right, it goes against every. First of all, it's a bad way to tackle. Second of all, it puts both players at injury risk. And you can coach people to not tackle that way, because coaching people to tackle properly takes the crown of the helmet out of it.
So Jim, tonight it's the Jets against the Patriots. Thursday night, starting week 3 here. The Jets won last week. The Patriots did win their first week. What do you think about Aaron Rodgers playing with the Jets? Does he look like his old self?
He looks like a game manager, and that's really interesting because he does have really good talent around him. Let's face it, the Jets would be 0-2 if Will Levis hadn't done something really stupid. Breece Hall and Braylon Allen look really good. They have not gotten the ball a ton to Wilson. They just look like a kind of it looks like Case Keenum more than Aaron Rodgers. He's just kind of throwing short passes. He's trying to manage situations. And, that got him a victory on Sunday. I don't think it's going to be good teams. That's the interesting thing here. Are the Patriots a good team? They look like they're well coached, and they look like they're a good defensive team. They're not, obviously, they don't have a whole lot going for them offensively. So the Jets should win this game. It would be a big red flag to me if Rodgers can't beat the Patriots.
Jim, it's kind of an interesting story. You mentioned Braylon Allen, who is the rookie from Wisconsin. I think he's only 21 years old, that and we're seeing more and more of these top end athletes forego their senior year in high school and go to college a year early. If they can graduate, I suppose they qualify and all those things. Is that to try to get, for some of these guys, the motivation is to get to the NFL quicker?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, why not get to a point where you can actually make a great living? And especially at a position like running back, I think running back is kind of either you have it or you don't position. A lot of other positions, maturity really matters. Understanding schemes matters. If you're a running back, most of the job is just being able to make people miss, or having exceptional burst. Braylon Allen looks really good in the NFL. Now receiver is a tougher position to do that. Quarterback, obviously a tougher position to do that at. But running back, I can see it.
Jim, the Gophers are going to play against Iowa on Saturday. Both these teams look like defensively they've been playing really well, and Iowa had a great defense last year. Is it going to be tough for both teams to score?
I would think. Of course, whenever we say that, sometimes great defense sets up offense, right? Sometimes you create a turnover in the other team's territory. Sometimes you can score on defense. So it's not. Sometimes it's a non sequitur to say, okay, you have great defenses, so nobody's going to score. But I do think that defenses will dominate the game. What I find really interesting is I went into the season saying, okay, Gophers are really in trouble. The schedule looks really tough. And now you look at the schedule and say, okay, Iowa's good, but they're not unbeatable. UCLA looks terrible. USC looks good, but maybe not great. And Michigan hasn't played well. So if the Gophers can play well during this stretch, maybe they can survive this stretch and actually, end the season with a pretty good record in a bowl bid.
And I mean, based on what you've seen this year so far, do you think getting to 6 wins, 7 wins is realistic?
I didn't think going into the season, I thought that's what they were, 6 or 7 win team. Maybe there's more available to them. Obviously they're going to have to play well, but I just don't see, other than maybe USC, I just don't see any unwinnable games on the schedule at the moment. Of course, we've only seen the Gophers play non-conference opponents, so there's still something of a mystery how they'll play against these teams.
All right, Jim, what do you got in your podcast?
We'll have Donna Sports with Gopher soccer coach Aaron Chastain as our guests out this morning. We have the Viking Update show out. We have John Krasinski shows on the Wolves, the Lynx, some interesting offseason developments, and Glenn Taylor subpoenaing the NBA, which is very interesting. We'll finish our round the next 24 hours or so. Plus, remember Randy Shaver's high school football show, which is doing well, and you can see it on YouTube. Mike Grimm on the Gophers. And everything's at talknorth.com.
All right, Jim, thank you. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Thanks, Jet.
It's Jim Souhan, Star Tribune sports columnist, joining us every weekday morning at this time. Follow him on Twitter at SouhanStrib. Check out his latest column in the Star Tribune. Or his podcast at talknorth.com. Jim, today brought to you by Wimmer Opticians and the Green Mill in downtown St. Cloud. Next on WJON, it's World and National News from ABC, and that's brought to you by Executive Express.